hopefully everyone has been having a good day so far. Have we been having a good day, folks? Yes! Excellent! Now, hopefully, amongst you in the crowd, one or two of you might like penguins a little bit. Do we have anyone that really likes penguins? Yes! Oh, fantastic. Well, if you do love penguins, this is definitely the perfect place to be, because this is the largest penguin pool in the whole country. The whole of England, I should say, because Scottish people get very angry when we say that. The one in Edinburgh is a teeny bit bigger, but here we are. So this penguin pool behind me actually has about 70 beautiful Humboldt penguins, and I am going to tell you a little bit more about them. Now, there's actually 18 different species of penguins all around the world, and they range in size from the emperor penguin, which is about 4 foot tall, all the way down to the little blue penguin, which is only 1 foot tall, also known as the fairy penguin. Now, these penguins actually live all over the world, so it's a bit of a myth that penguins like to live, or they all like to live in the snow and the ice. Most penguins, like the Humboldts behind me, actually like to live where it's a little bit hotter. So we have penguins living in South America, South Africa, Australia and New Zealand, and even the Galapagos Islands. So my lovely friends, the Humboldts behind me, they come from the coasts of Peru and Chile, and they basically like to live on the beach. So don't worry, it is not too warm for them here, and to be honest, on a bit of a rubbish cloudy day like today, this is pretty much their favourite weather. Now, because all of these penguins live next to the sea, does anyone want to guess what their favourite food is? You can all shout it out for me all together. Fish! Goodness me, yes, it is indeed lots of fish. So, fish makes up about 80% of the diet of a penguin, and the other 20% is made up of things like squid and also crustaceans such as krill. So these lovely penguins here, these very greedy penguins, they eat about 30 to 40 small fish every single day, but during the breeding season, oh hello, you're a pigeon, you're not a penguin. He wants to be a penguin apparently. During the breeding season or the molting season, which we are currently in, the penguins can eat almost 100 fish every single day. So I do not know where they put it all away. Now, in order to find and catch these fish, the penguins have got some very, very cool adaptations. So, the eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed that there is no net on top of Penguin Beach, and of course, that is because penguins can't fly. It's a bit sad for them, but actually, it doesn't matter because they fly through the water at speeds of over 20 miles an hour. Now, because they don't fly like the pigeons over there, they don't need to have hollow bones, and instead, they actually have very, very solid bones which help them to sink, help them to dive down. So these guys, the Humboldts, they can go down to a depth of about 150 metres and hold their breath for between 5 to 10 minutes. But actually, in the grand scheme of things, that is nothing, because the emperor penguins can go all the way down to 500 metres. Goodness me. Now, if you want to visualise just how far that is, imagine 5 Big Bens stacked one on top of the other. I know, right? It's very impressive, isn't it? So, the emperor penguins, they can hold their breath for almost half an hour, which is absolutely amazing. Now, when they're in the water, it can get a little bit cold, so penguins have some very, very special feathers to keep them nice and warm. In fact, they actually have 2 layers of feathers. Now, the top layer is semi-waterproof, and you might be able to notice they spend an awful lot of time preening their feathers to make sure that they stay in tip-top condition. The second layer underneath that one is very, very soft and fluffy, and it traps lots of air bubbles to keep them nice and warm. Now, you might realise fish are pretty slippery, pretty slimy, so when the penguins are catching the fish, they actually have a secret weapon in their mouths. And that is actually lots and lots of big, scary spikes. So all along their tongue and all down their throat, these penguins have some very creepy looking pink spikes. It looks like something out of Alien. And those spikes help them to hold on to the slippery, slippery fish. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you a bit about the appearance of our penguins, because all penguins are very famous for their lovely black and white tuxedos. Now, not only does it make them very cute, it is also very important because it is actually a form of camouflage. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Lucy, there's a penguin, there's a penguin, there's a penguin. How on earth are these penguins camouflaged? And you're kind of right, because in the lovely turquoise waters of Penguin Beach, they do stand out quite a bit. But if you imagine them out in the open ocean, this is where the camouflage starts to kick in. So the type of camouflage that penguins have is called counter shading. It means that one side of them is dark and the other side is light. So, if a really scary predator comes along, can anyone think of any predators that might want to eat our penguins? You can shout them out. A polar bear? If you said polar bear, -5 points. They're not even in the same hemisphere. What else?
Leopard
Sharks, very good. What else?
Leopard seals.
Yeah, leopard seals. And then there's one more, killer whales. Perfect. So those are the penguin's top predators. If any of those predators are swimming above our penguin looking down, then the penguin's black back is going to blend in to the really deep water below them. But if the predator is underneath the penguin looking up, then the penguin's lovely white tummy is going to blend in to the sky and the much lighter water above. So it is a very clever system. Now, if you have a look at some of the penguins who are out of the water at the moment, particularly the one right on the left-hand side, you will see that they have very spotty tummies. You'll notice that each of the penguins has a different pattern of spots. So it's a little bit like a fingerprint, and it is one of the ways that we can tell them apart. However, penguins swim very, very quickly, and as you can see, their tummy spots aren't always visible. So in order to make it easier for us to identify them, because they all have names, we have given each of our penguins a lovely wing tag. So as you can see, just like I've got my bracelet here, our penguins have a lovely bracelet with different coloured beads on, and they all have their own unique pattern of beads. So if you think you are a pro at identifying them, the easiest one for you guys to try and find is Rainbow, because Rainbow has all the colours of the rainbow on her lovely beads. Now, this time of year is a very exciting time of year for us here at London Zoo, and that is because two very cool things are happening. The first is that our teenage penguins are starting to finally turn into adults. Oh goodness me, we've got a very excited penguin. So when penguins get really excited and happy like this, they basically get the penguin zoomies, and they swim really fast, they jump completely out of the water. That is called porpoising. So if you see a penguin running around doing that, that means they are very, very happy. So as I said, there we go. We set off a zoomies session.
He got the zoomies.
Not do that right in the middle of the talk. Thank you.
He got the zoomies.
There we go. Penguin zoomies. Thanks guys, I love getting splashed in the face. Anyway, as I was saying, as you can see, we've got some very rambunctious teenage penguins at the moment. And what is happening at this time of year is that they're losing their baby feathers and they're growing their adult feathers. So they're finally going to look like adults. Now the second thing that is really exciting that is happening is over in that corner. Has anybody today seen their baby penguins already? Oh, thank you guys. Some of you have seen the babies, yep. So at certain times of the day, we have our very, very fresh, our new baby penguins just in their little nursery pool round the corner. So because they're so teeny tiny, they can't be in the big pool yet, so they're learning how to swim just round there. Now speaking of babies, out in the wild, Humboldt penguins would live in a colony of hundreds or even thousands of penguins, and it is a very noisy and very smelly place to be. Now, you might have heard some of them making their noise as I was doing the talk. Does anyone think here that they can do a very good penguin noise impression? You think you can? Yes. Who wants to do it? You want to do it? Alright, so what you're going to do is make your penguin noise into the microphone on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, that was a very squeaky penguin. Would anyone else like to have a go? Okay, you're going to have to come forward a bit. Come forward a bit. Make your best penguin noise, and what a beautiful dress you are wearing with all those animals. Right, are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, we've got very, very squeaky penguins today. And then one more. Anyone think they can do a really good penguin noise? Yeah. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, yes, that was more like it. So these penguins sound a bit like donkeys, and the noise they make is like this. Oh. Right, one more time for the people at the back. Oh. So we're going to do one all together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh. Beautiful. So, these colonies are very noisy, and they're very smelly, and that is because Humboldt penguins like to build their nest out of something called guano. Now, does anybody know what guano is? Some of the adults might, hopefully. Say it a bit louder. It is their poo! So these penguins will poo so much that they can then dig and burrow and make little nests out of their poo, which is, I'm not going to lie, a little bit gross.
One is
Now,
drowning.
despite that, the penguin poo is actually very interesting, and that is because they do so much of it, we can actually see it from space. Oh my goodness. So, by looking at satellite images of Antarctica, we've been able to find brand new penguin colonies that we didn't even know existed. Now, that's really cool. It's also very good because unfortunately, a lot of penguins out in the wild are not doing very, very well. And one of the biggest reasons for that is plastic pollution. Now, humans produce about 300 million tons of plastic every single year, and a lot of it does ultimately end up in the oceans. Now it's just starting to rain. I won't keep you too long, but if you take away one thing from London Zoo today, some of you might have done this already today without even knowing, it is to get yourselves one of these, a lovely reusable water bottle. If you've already got one, you can give yourselves a massive pat on the back, and if you haven't, then you know what your homework is today. But by getting one of these, you are taking so much plastic out of circulation that would otherwise end up in the oceans and affect penguins and other marine life. Now, I want to thank you guys so much for coming to London Zoo today, because ZSL, the conservation charity behind London Zoo, works in more than 50 countries around the world, not just with penguins, and by coming to the zoo today, you have directly helped to fund our work. So if anyone's got any penguin questions, do feel free to come down and see me. But otherwise, thank you so much for coming. And your next talks are the camels at 2 o'clock and the bugs at 2 o'clock as well. All right, thank you very much, everyone.